Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about Jennifer Donnelly's Lost in a Book. If you haven't read it and you like fairy tale retellings, this is the book for you. So this book actually takes place while Belle is being kept at the castle by the Beast before she realizes that she has feelings for him, before she goes back to the village because her papa gets sick. This is before that. Sorry, still recovering from our cold that's gone around the house here. So the story starts off, there's a prologue. Death and love are in a kind of, they're competing against each other. Love is the one who kind of set Belle and the Beast up. She sent her enchantress to the Beast, and it was her enchantress who cursed him. And she has every faith in the idea and the thought that Belle is the one who's going to break this curse. And so Death, being competitive and liking to gamble, actually challenges Love, and that believing that, and claiming that Belle is not the one, and it's an enormous amount of money that they actually bet against each other for. So Love's betting that yes, Belle is the one, and Death is betting that she's not. And after Love leaves, Death pulls a book off of her bookshelf, hands it to one of her ravens, and sends it to the Beast's library because she figures there's nothing wrong with evening the odds a little bit in her favor. And this happens right before the Beast shows Belle the library, like after she tries to leave and gets attacked by wolves and he rescues her and gets injured. This is that point where he shows her the library, and she decides that, well, they're going to have to clean it because it's dirty and it's dusty. And so she gathers the servants, and it's Lumiere and Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts and Chip and Plumette, and they all come into the library and they're cleaning. And at one point the Beast comes in and he, wants to help. And of course he doesn't really have, a very good sense of cleaning. It's not something that he's done before. And so he ends up making more of a mess than helping. And he actually ends up tripping and falling. And he starts to get angry, and Belle, starts to laugh because he did look comical just slipping onto his back, like it was just hilarious. And it kind of stems his anger a little bit. She tries to explain, I'm not laughing at you, I'm just laughing at the situation. And so he, goes back to his translations, but you can tell that there's like this lingering, he wishes he could stay and he wishes he could be, with him and be involved in what they're doing. In the evening, after everyone else has finished, they're all gone. Mrs. Potts tells Belle that she'll have food ready for her. She wants to go get cleaned up. Belle realizes that there's a door that no one had noticed, and she figures they probably all missed it. And so she opens the door, goes in there, and turns out that it's probably was the office of the last librarian that was there. There's inks and tools that they would use to refurbish older books, and that's when she finds the book Nevermore. And Beast had warned her that some of the books in the library were enchanted, and some were more unruly than others, but he told her that she shouldn't come into any harm from any of them. So she watched before her eyes as Nevermore grows, and it grows and it grows until it's bigger than her, and it opens up, and she can literally like step into the pages of Nevermore and become part of the story. And she steps into this ball, and she's wearing this beautiful ball gown, and she meets these people, Henry, who's a duke, and the Countess de Mortes, and it kind of throws her off at first that the Countess has the name of Death, but she doesn't put two and two together. Now, as the reader, you will. The description of the Countess is very much the description of Death, and her name gives her away immediately, and so you're like, okay, so Death is talking to Belle. How is this going to play out? What's she going to do, right? And so Henry is really sweet, and he's a really nice guy, and Belle really enjoys talking to him, and she proves her wit against, someone who is apparently very literary smart, and she proves that she knows Shakespeare just as well as he does, and she has a lot of fun, that evening. And as she's going to, as she's with the Countess, at one point the Countess's bracelet gets caught on Belle's hair, and the Countess pulls it away and apologizes, and Belle heads back to the Beast's castle, through the portal, and you see the Countess kind of slip the hair away, and you're like, okay, well, that's a little weird, what's going on here? Belle gets back to the castle. Everybody's looking for her. She's been gone for a while. And she's like, oh no, I was just over here. I got lost. I was reading a book, and she goes about her on her way, constantly thinking of Nevermore, wanting to go back. And so the next time that she goes back to Nevermore, the Countess actually meets her. And Belle didn't want to go back. Like, she was like, oh no, I have friends here. I have a real life. But her and the Beast kind of had an argument. They're having a hard time actually getting along. There's a desire there. Belle wants to know why she's here. She wants to know about the curse. And unfortunately for her, and unfortunately for the Beast, the Enchantress cursed him. They weren't allowed to tell her. So no matter how hard she pries, everybody kept saying, oh, he has his reasons. The master is ways for but no one can tell her why, and it's really starting to frustrate her. And so she just doesn't know. I guess in her mind, she figures she's going to go somewhere where people want to actually talk to her. She feels like the Beast doesn't want to talk to her. So she goes back to Nevermore, and she figures, oh, it's probably really late. Then the Countess is waiting for her, takes her on a carriage ride, takes her to Paris, because the Countess's estate is right outside of Paris. And they go to this bakery, and they're going to have sweets. One thing to remember, she did eat something at the party, and then she eats something else at this sweet shop. And as she goes to continue eating, these bugs come, and they go over the table, and they create a message. And basically the message is along the gist of, if you leave 3 things behind and eat 3 things, basically you get stuck in Nevermore. You can't leave. And Belle doesn't think anything of it because it's not, she has no, the Death kind of brushes it off as, oh, this is just, they're just weird. These are the bugs that belong to the Mad Woman. And she describes the Mad Woman to Belle, and the Mad Woman sounds, well, that's love. She's got the white hair and white clothing, and oh yeah, that's love. So she tells Belle that love is a Mad Woman, and she's crazy, and the bugs belong to her, and every once in a while they escape. And then she says to Belle, oh, I have a friend. I have to, I see what my relative, give me a minute. And she goes inside the bake shop where Love is actually waiting for her. And Death is like, what do you think you're doing? And Love is like, what do you think you're doing? Are you trying to cheat? Death's like, no, I'm not cheating. I'm just going to prove you that I'm right. She's going to want to stay here. And basically, Love reveals what Death is ultimately doing, which is trapping Belle in Nevermore. If Belle leaves 3 things behind and eats 3 things from Nevermore, she'll be trapped there. So, Death comes back out, and her and Belle go, walking around, and they come upon this man who has these marionettes, and he winds them up, and they all move. And they're all moving and dancing, and they actually look like real people, like real life people, while they're moving quickly. And one of them, King Otto, happens to make eye contact with Belle right before his winding winds down, and it looks like he has a look of pain on his face. And Belle comments it. And then this little boy comes around asking for, money for the show, and Belle realizes she still has a couple of coins in her pocket from before, and so she pulls one out and tosses it into the boy's hat. And out of nowhere, this woman comes and grabs this hat and goes running. And of course, it's Love. She's preventing Belle from leaving a coin behind in Nevermore, and taking it with her. And Death realizes who it is. Belle has no clue. Death puts 2 together, gets kind of upset about it. And so then they have to take Belle back to the estate, and she goes back home. The Countess wants to take Belle on a trip, and she tells Belle, she was like, oh, we can plan it. We can be gone for a month. We can go to Greece, and we can go to Italy, and we can go here and there. And Belle is so excited because she's always wanted to travel, and she says that's great, but then she remembers Mrs. Potts had asked her to help her plan Chip's party, and so she was like, okay, well, that's great, we can plan that. She said, but I have other commitments, so we can't leave until after, Chip's birthday party, and I have to go home. And so it kind of throws Death off that Belle is attached to a cup. Like, she's like, he's a cup, and to Belle, he's a child, he's a real person. And so Belle goes back to the back to the castle. She helps Miss Potts with the decorations. The Beast actually plans a really special day where like they go ice skating together, and it's really super sweet. Like he doesn't know how, and so she has to show him, and they fall and they laugh, but they have such a good day together. It's like something she never thought that he could be that way, you know. And then there's a point where their clothes are wet. They come in. He apparently catches a cold. And so she feels bad because, you know, he caught the cold because he was trying to spend time with her. And so her and Chip go out and take seed and spread get well and seed in front of his window, get his attention. The birds come down. And when the birds come down to eat it, it spells out get well for him to see. And it makes him smile. And she realizes that there's more to the Beast than what she thought. But that doesn't stop her from wanting to go back to Nevermore again. And so she goes, but she already knows that when she comes back, you know, Chip has his birthday and she can't miss that. She doesn't want to miss Chip's birthday. So she's there with the Countess and they're planning, they're planning their trip to go away. And the Countess keeps mentioning that she has something in her back pocket, like a trump card in her back pocket that will totally convince Belle to stay and not leave. And she's holding that out, you know, holding out for that. So she takes, there's a scientist that she has that's hanging around. You know, he's supposed to be this really smart man. And then Henry shows up too. And so they go to the wood, to the orchard. She has an orchard. And they go to the orchard to go pick peaches. And so they're all picking peaches and everyone's like, oh, and they're laughing and giggling and having a good time. And, oh, you should hurry up and eat one before the professor eats them all. And just joking around. Well, they start chasing each other and Belle gets separated. And that's when Love appears to her. And at first Belle's like, you're the mad woman, get away from me. And Love is like, no, you have to understand. I'm here to help you. And when she shows her the basket again with the peaches, they're pomegranates. And it makes Belle think of Hades and Persephone and how when Persephone ate the pomegranate, she was stuck in hell. And it's Love's way of trying to explain to her that she needs to not eat this. But Belle's not really picking up on it. And at the same time, it kind of is shocking to her because, like, she thought this one was crazy. And so now Belle thinks she's going, we're like, am I going crazy because I'm seeing this, you know? And, so when she gets the mad woman disappears and she reconnects with everybody and everybody else is eating peaches, so Belle goes ahead and eats one too, but it doesn't taste quite right. Like something's off about it now, and she's not sure if that's because of what had happened. But when she goes back through the portal that evening, it's harder for her to get through the portal than it has been before. And there's like a maze that's growing up over hedges and stuff. And it's getting a lot harder every time to get back to the castle. But she makes it back in time for Chip's birthday. They celebrate and they trick him. They get him good. Like Chip shows, gets done with his chores and he thinks everybody forgot. And then his mother tells him to go check the windows in the dining room, and he goes in there, and I mean, there's cake and food, and even the Beast brought him out like a gift, and it's super sweet and super adorable, and just like, you're like, oh, Chip, because everybody loves Chip. Like, Chip's the sweetheart, right? So then Belle goes to Nevermore one more time. And she's going because now the Countess has pulled her trump card and has told her that she knows Belle's father, that she knew Belle's mother. And technically, Death did know Belle's mother, but she was there when Belle's mother died. And so she tells her she knows her father, she knows her mother, and that she's going to get her father for her to see. And so Belle's excited because now she's going to get to see her father again. And so she goes back to Nevermore and she sees, her father, and he's acting a little strange, but she thinks that's because he's ill, because everyone has told her that her father is ill. And so then Henry comes to her and he's like, oh, well, I have to go back to my estates. They need my attention. There's been some issues, so I'm going to be gone. Can I have a favor? And that's when she realizes she still has one of those coins. And so she takes the coin and gives it to Henry. And he starts laughing like a crazy person. And slowly yet surely, things start to fall apart. And that's when Death reveals herself and reveals that everything was an illusion. And that now Belle is trapped because she left 3 things behind. The hairs, which are now a bracelet on the Countess's wrist. The coin. And there was something else that she had left behind. I can't even remember what it was. Oh, the handkerchief. Because when her father and her were together, he had cut his finger, and so she took the handkerchief from her pocket and wrapped it around his finger to stop the bleeding, and it wasn't actually her father. And then she'd eaten three things: the macaroon, or the treat at the first party, the macaroon at the bake shop, and the pear, or the peach in the orchard. And so the countess has told her that now she's a part of Nevermore and that she's never going to leave, and she's and love lost, and just the whole illusion starts to fall apart. The actual people she was talking to, they were marionettes. The wind-ups. The one who was pretending to be her father was the King Otto, and so things just kind of fall apart from there, and that's when the bugs show back up, and they can talk, and one's a really large stag beetle and another is a spider, and so they, you know, are trying to help Belle, and she runs back to the country house, and it's a derelict, falling apart, and the only good thing is that they can get upstairs and the marionettes can't, and so she realizes that there's only one way she's gonna be able to get out. She's going to have to go back to the portal. She's going to have to fight her way through. It is fair to mention here that she has a necklace now. The beast gave her a necklace. It's a glass heart that belonged to his mother, and she's wearing it. And Henry had asked her for it, and she had told him no, and that's when she had given him the coin. And so she decides that the only way for her to get out is for her to get those three things back. So she has to get the napkin back from Otto, and she has to get the coin back from Henry, and she has to get the hair back from the Countess. And so Otto is their first stop, and they go to Otto, and they find him crying, and he's distressed, and he tells her that the first time that he's ever felt, you know, almost human was when he played her father, and that he could almost feel what love was like, and he wants that. And in a moment of inspiration, Belle has scissors, these shears that the mad woman had given her, and she cuts out a red heart, and she quickly has the spider sew it to his chest, and Otto has a heart, and he feels love, and he's gonna follow Belle anywhere. And so he gives her back the napkin, and then that's when he helps her go take on Henry. And of course Henry is playing, and he's, you know, hooked up with strings, and so they have to try and cut his strings so they can get the coin from him. And there's a big fight, and the other marionettes show up, and they are able to get the coin, and Belle throws a chair out the French doors, and they tumble out the French doors, and they have to walk back to the country estate because Death is packing up everything. And she left, or back to the regular estate, she left them at the country house, and so back to her estate, and it takes them like 2 hours to get there. And when they get there, you know, she's asleep, and so they have the spider, you know, tie her up with the webs, and then they try to get the hair in her eyes open, and she's gonna get them, and you're never going to escape. It doesn't matter if you take your three things back. You're never going to get out. And she basically has to fight through a maze to get to the end, to get back to the portal. And she can't get through the portal. And she can see the beast and everybody because they went looking for her. Like, they went looking for her when she went into Nevermore and wasn't responding. And the library was locked. And they went to the beast and they said, something's wrong. Belle's not being herself. She's been very off lately. We're not sure what's going on. And when they go to the library and she doesn't respond, he breaks down the door. And that's when they find the room and they find Nevermore. And they know that it's bad, but they don't know how to do it. They can't do anything to help her. And Beast basically just says she left. And he feels terrible, not for himself, for his servants, because now they're trapped and they're going to die, because Belle's not going to be there to fix this curse. And at the last second, right as the Countess is going to get her, Belle takes her heart, and that's what the stag beetle tells her. She has to use her heart. Belle takes the glass heart and uses it to cut open the page and tumble it out of Nevermore. And then the book shrinks. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, Belle, what? And she tells and she's crying, and she tells them that the fake world was nowhere near as good as the real world, and how much she cares for them, and how she can't believe she almost gave them all up for this. And of course the Beast is stunned because she came back. And she takes Nevermore and she throws it out the window, and they basically decide that they're going to give this a shot, this friendship. And it's just so wholesome and so hearty, and I was so happy to see the character development. So, because everyone always says, oh, Belle had Stockholm Syndrome, but the movie itself never actually tells us how long Belle was held with the Beast, and you never get to see everything they did together. And so this just gives you a little insight, and it was so good. Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly. If you are looking for a good fairy tale story, this is it. Happy reading.